Hello, this is Ob1gui's. Today I've got a commentary concerning the NFL. Normally, of course, my site is dedicated to stats and performance statistics on the NFL teams, especially for the 2021 season. However, last night on Monday Night Football, it was announced that Jon Gruden was let go from the Raiders for a series of insensitive racial comments. And I'd like to address that and racism in America. But before I do that, I want to tell you a little story. A while back, a few years ago, in fact, before Colin Kaepernick, before the BLM movement, I was elected to serve on jury duty in Georgia. Showed up at the jury pool, and the case in particular was about police profiling, racism, and brutality. As they're going around, as they do normally in the pre-trial, the defense attorney and the district attorney get their opportunity to ask the potential jurors questions in an effort to, of course, strike those that might be more favorable to one side than the other. They got around to me, and the DA started asking the typical questions, what's your background, where you're from, what kind of education do you have, what kind of work do you do? I responded that from Texas originally, went to Ivy League schools for both undergraduate and graduate. I'm a computer consultant for a large corporation. Shortly thereafter, he asked me other questions, but finally his final question was, well, have you ever had a negative or racial encounter with a police officer? And my response was, yes. And he said, well, you want to tell us about the encounter? And I said, well, you want them in chronological order? And with a smirk, he looked at me and says, oh, you mean you've had more than one encounter, negative? And I said, well, I've been black a long time. After I said that, of course, the jury, everybody, witnesses, even the judge, just cracked up laughing. However, when I really sat and thought about it, I said the arrogance of this DA to assume that because I was well educated and had a high-paying job, that somehow I was immune to treatment by police. And as we all know, the things that have transpired over the last few years, that is rarely and never the case if you're a black American. Now, getting back to Jon Gruden, he made a comment in his apology, of course, that he never meant to hurt anybody. Now, that's really odd coming from somebody in a position of power who had these kinds of thoughts. By the way, the New York Times released an article showing that he had years and years and years of emails berating everybody from women to gays to blacks. And these emails were being circulated among his clique of friends who obviously were comfortable and felt the same way. There's nothing unusual about Jon Gruden and his comments. In fact, you go to probably any corporation in America, any boardroom, and you've got a high percentage of white males in particular that share the same sentiment, feel the same way, and openly discuss it. You go to country clubs, that's all they talk about when there's no one listening, no cameras pointed at them. So the situation is that what we can do as citizens to try and combat this is what we have been trying to do since the Civil Rights Movement, and that is try and drive, racism will be here forever. However, open racism, blatant racism out in the open is something we need to drive back underground. No one should feel comfortable, even amongst their own friends and family, being racist, making racist, homophobic comments or sexist comments. And all I can say is what we can do, especially with technology being available to us. Plenty of cell phones out there, just about everybody's got one. You're in a situation where somebody's making you feel uncomfortable, or they're making comments that you know are racist, homophobic, or sexist. It's very simple, really. It doesn't take a rocket scientist. Go to the bathroom, put your phone on record, put it back in your pocket, and record them. And then later on, take the recording and release it to social media with a description of what it was, who it was, etc. If enough of these people get called out, then the attitude that they have will start to dissipate. It won't go away. It'll never go away. But it's time. We're in 2021, headed to 2022, and this kind of behavior is just totally unacceptable. And being an adult male, no matter what race, color, creed, etc., all you have to do is be willing to treat people as human beings. Just be a decent human being, and we can all just move on throughout our lives and not have to suffer the consequences. Unfortunately, people in power are also in a position to make decisions based on their feelings. That is what concerns me the most. So hopefully, not only Jon Gruden, but others in his circle, others that are on the ends of those emails, others that have done the similar or same thing, will get called out and get treated accordingly. He deserves what he gets, and that is to never, ever, ever work again in anything closely related to the NFL. So that's my 2 cents for what it's worth. Thank you for listening.